Mike Hoffer.
Thank you, Andrea. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns, corrections, or motions? Thank you.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Staff report on recent council meetings and staff report on planning and development activities. Mr. Hardison, I assume.
Yes, so at the council meeting last month, the conditional use permit for the Marina Yacht Club, there was actually a split vote of 2-2. So there was essentially no action, so it didn't go anywhere. Wasn't either approved or denied, but it just kind of failed to make a decision.
What does that mean for the applicant?
So it's a good question when there's no decision.
We were split here, too.
Yeah, so it was 3-3, so yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely was a difficult decision. And it was only 4 members who voted for council. So there's still a process to appeal. So I believe that they're going to go that route.
Okay.
The Lake Park Boulevard South, there was a speed limit that council wanted to reduce from Sumter to Alabama Avenue from 35 to 25. Council passed that. That's now going to Department of Transportation. They're going to change it on their end and replace the signage. So that's all going to happen probably about a month out,
Is that all the way to the Curry Beach?
the Curry Beach line. Yep. We rewrote some requirements or really just tried to make clarifications to when, what, who was able to drive on the boardwalk for maybe it's a construction project that you have going on, or maybe it's to deliver for deliveries, for merchandise or entertainment, if you have a band. So we've clarified that language in the permitting process and approval.
Driving on the boardwalk where?
Gazebo area?
The, just with the gazebo, and if you need to drive on Pavilion Avenue or the boardwalk,
Like when they do.
the sidewalk areas.
When they do the beach blast, the sound truck sits basically on the boardwalk right in front of Naughty Dogs.
Okay.
And there's certain hours that you can, for deliveries and time frames. And the watershed plan was approved by town council at their meeting this week. So that's exciting. So it has specific projects that are detailed in the plan, which now that we could go after funding and for some stormwater projects. Permitting since last time we met, there's been 81 total permits. 16 were for new construction, 10 finals, and 4 demolition permits were issued. In code enforcement world, we received 19 complaints and investigated those, and 11 of those were resolved.
Any of the demos related to the boardwalk area?
No, not yet. There's 2 there. So one, he's wanting to sell the property, and the other one, they're under design still. So they're trying to work out the building code requirements for their design before they move forward.
I think we heard, I don't know, probably 4 to 6 months ago that they wanted to wait for demo until the end of the season.
Yeah, so that's now that we're getting closer. That's what they're kind of contemplating now. And so if that's the case, even the town is maybe interested in that parking lot. So running it again for the season. Just a couple of demolition permits, one on Canal Drive and the other one on Bonito. So single family houses coming down. Just new businesses. People are gearing up now kind of for the spring, but Nancy Joe's at 8 Pavilion and Polar Bear Beach Games, which sell retail, or essentially the name of it is like Beach Games is what they're marketing to. And then the L Plus A+ Nail Salon is opening up a smoothie bar within, and going on to where they have that kind of big deck out in front too. Where you go up and get your health drinks. Just coming up, we did get a conditional use permit for 522 North 7th Street for a planned unit development, total of 12 units. We'll be reviewing some private parking lot regulations, a text amendment was applied for on how to handle non-conforming structures when there's an addition wanting to be made, and how the ordinance looks at when you're wanting to do an addition for a non-conforming structure. And also a text amendment we're still working on with the sign ordinance overhaul to meet federal guidelines. Staff, we attended the UNC School Government presentation there's going to be a rewrite of the planning statutes of 160D. They're kind of reorganizing things, and there'll be a lot involved with text amendments along with that process. And they're just trying to streamline and get everything consistent across the board through North Carolina. For instance, with your conditional use permits, some communities call them special use permits, some were conditional use. Now they want to change the same terminology throughout, so we're actually going to change them to special use permits is now what they're going to become, just as an example. But there's tons of changes that are coming down.
Any of those changes in regards to planning and zoning hearing?
Yes, there are some that would affect that. And we are now planning for every 5 years we have to update the hazard mitigation plan. And that is a regional plan that from New Hanover County, Brunswick, and Pender County is teaming up. I think also Onslow is now joining us for our regional plan that we have to have for FEMA funding. We have to have a mitigation plan. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Anybody have any questions or comments to Jeremy about that? Nope.
Nope.
All right, we're going to open up for public discussion. I want to make a couple of announcements real quick before we do so. Nobody signed up, but last minute we have decided or discussed as a board, and I think we should. Do we need to vote on this, Jeremy?
If you want to go ahead and take public comment for the land use plan.
So we're going to open up the public discussion for the land use plan, and we'd love to hear your comments if you came here for that. We're going to set up a planning and zoning workshop because of the magnitude and us missing a couple of commissioners tonight, so that we can be better prepared to go through the land use plan. So if anybody would like to, do they need to do anything except come up and speak?
No, just
Anybody that'd
recognize
like,
them.
anybody that'd like to stand up and speak about the land use plan? Any comments? We really would love to hear them. Take your input, and we're going to take notes. Please stand up, state your name and address for the record, and your comments. Hey.
Howdy. My name is Karen Graybush. What else? My address?
The address.
518 Sumter. That monstrosity of construction that's going on. Anyway, so I don't really know how to do this stuff. But anyway, so the folks in my office are frequently discussing clarifying on the land use plan, and I guess we're going to be getting together with you all to sort of go over stuff. There's still like all of this talk about how the non-conforming issues and all the things that's going to happen because of that, and that even if we write in the plan that, like, what was it, item 13 that we put in there, that, it's not supposed to change anything to non-conforming, even if the plan's going to exist, and that legally that may not be covered or applicable or whatever, and they're talking to the real estate person who's in charge over there up on Sir Tyler. So it's just really something that I think really needs to be looked into a great deal, because I know that we're trying to make sure that that sort of is covered, but every time I walk into a bunch of real estate people talking, it seems to be a huge, nobody has a real solid answer. So I just sort of wanted to share that at this particular time, because we're just not really getting an answer, and I don't know what the answer is, but some lawyer, I'm sure, somewhere does. So anyway, I know that we were trying to fix that with all those things that we were talking about, right? And I just don't know what the answer is, but I just want to let you know so you can all think about it. Because every time I walk in, it's a real hot topic. So, and I'm just like, oh, I think I'm going to walk out, you know?
Is it possible to reach out to Sherry Pridgeon? Is that who is the president of the Cape Fear Realtor Association now?
Yes.
I believe, yes.
Is there a way we can reach out to her and have her send some comments to Jeremy on the Realtor Association's thoughts on
I
that?
can, yeah.
And if there's a lender you guys would like to include in that, that could give us some insight, because I'm not knowledgeable on that as well.
Yeah, I'm not either, you know.
And,
I mean, I
We
have-
certainly don't want to make a big wrong mistake.
Exactly, and that's where, that's what I just keep hearing, that there's not a way, that what we're trying to do is not going to be legal. And so, yeah, I think that I can reach out to Sherry and, we can find
Have
a
him send
mortgage
something to
broker, but
Jeremy, and he'll bring it to our workshop.
I think that's a big spot right there.
Another thing that might be helpful is, my assumption is, Jeremy, correct me, after we have the workshop with the LUP committee and P and Z, it will come back to P and Z
Yes.
for recommendations. I would encourage you to get anybody that has, as a stakeholder, that has an interest, to come to that meeting, because you will better understand exactly what P and Z is recommending. However, P and Z is only a recommending board. I would advise them to next go to the council meeting, which is where the real decision will be made. So post LUP, P and Z workshop, it'll come back. I keep eye on the agenda, and that is the time to get public comment, because we will be making a recommendation with, as it is recommended, or with changes, and you will be able to, with specificity, understand which changes and how it looks more formally.
Okay, and then my other thing that I've noted that never seems to change in the document is that the lot sizes in the document never match our lot sizes, and I think that if we would just sort of change those couple of sentences, it
That's one
might
of the
sort of
things on my
alleviate a lot
list.
of stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
that's on my list.
Yeah, I really think it would
It's on everyone.
help a
Yep.
lot of stuff, so that seems to be a really important sentence that needs some work. But anyway, for now, that's it, but I'll contact those folks. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Karen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up, sir.
Hey, Philip Williams, 101 Moorfield. Could be at the wrong meeting, but I saw where Bryant Real Estate is going to expand, and there was a sign out.
That's still coming up, yes.
Yeah, that's got to be,
So I just wanted to mention, their place looks great. Hopefully, something great's going to be built behind it. It'll be directly behind their house. Would love to see maybe some kind of commercial, possibly privacy fence to divide our neighborhood from that, potentially. And then we get a ton of traffic down our road, not by them, but just in general turnarounds. Either it's not marked clear, and we happen to be one of the only unpaved streets in Carolina Beach. And y'all have a pumping station, or we collectively have a pumping station down there. It's like continuous town trucks and traffic, and like, we pay storm runoff, but the runoff is basically gravel into the street. The street sweeper comes down but stops at the businesses, doesn't come on in our neighborhood. So maybe if, somebody could kind of look and investigate that as all this is happening, it will be, greatly appreciated.
Due to the nature, and sorry I let you go ahead and go through all that, but it's because it's a conditional use permit, you have to be sworn in, and we have quasi-judicial laws that we have to follow as far as that permit process, and right now it's just a public discussion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
wanted to
I
inform
mean,
you
I
that if you,
call
if you wanted something on the record, hang out, and we'll
Okay.
swear you in and definitely have a discussion about that.
Okay.
All right.
So no harm or foul with what's being built. Glad to see that being
Okay.
built, but I'm just trying to get some of these other things
Yep.
in our.
And I think the thing with the street sweeper would be something you could come to Miles or Jeremy or the town and talk to them about, getting it further back there.
How do I go about maybe getting asphalt potentially?
That I don't.
Everybody says like, you're on your own. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I'd love to get some clarification.
That's over my head.
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, there's
That's
a
Brian
couple
Stanberry,
options,
okay.
But I can go over those with you if you want to give me a call
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I want to thank everybody that came out for the land use plan, and I'm sorry about the sudden change, kind of out of our control, but We do not. We're going to discuss that at the end of the meeting tonight on non-agenda items to figure out a date on how to do that. And I hope you guys can be there. All right. Nobody else for public discussion? Let's move on into our first item. Conditional use permit located at 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard for a 2-unit detached business planned unit development, applicant Ralph Roof. Is this, Miles, is this you? Okay.
All right, good evening, everyone. As Commissioner said, we'll be doing a conditional use permit for business planning and development at 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard. This is 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard, and the applicant will be Ralph Roof. This is Vinny's Pizza here, as well as it should be noted that the applicant recently did complete a plat to take. Thank you. One of those long days. A recombination plat to take control of a portion of the back of this property, which would officially be now under their possession to be utilized as for the parking you will see proposed in this plan here. Just a couple photos to give you the current condition. And these are the adjacent properties to it. One is a portion of the Carolina Sands HOA. The other is the Spot Restaurant. So business planning and developments are permitted in the neighborhood business zoning district that based on a council decision, I believe, in October. This is the site plan for the proposed development. The landscaping buffer has been met in all areas, excluding pre-existing building and patio footprint adjacent to the proposed, and is there adjacent to the proposed structure. Handicap and access to a public right-of-way is sufficient for a building inspector, and the drive aisles and the parking standards have been met with the inclusion of golf cart parking in 2 different locations to deal with a couple of tight parking spaces for vehicles otherwise. We have the loading plan set up, as well as sufficient fire access, and the proposed structure will meet all of the setbacks required by general zoning standards for neighborhood business. So as I said, the density falls within the requirement. The CUP meets all other required conditions and specifications. The proposed structure will conform with the neighboring properties, it being in the neighborhood business zone, being adjacent to HOA land, as well as another restaurant business. And it falls in line with the commercial zoning designation and the current future land use plan of the mixed use 1 area. Ingress and egress will be via Lake Park Boulevard with 2-way traffic. Parking is contained on a lot. Trash is collected with an on-site refuse container. Utilities will be provided in standard methods, and new parking improvements will require the grading of the lot so that no stormwater collects near the rear, and it's all directed towards Lake Park. 10-foot landscape buffer is required for this type of development, and that is being provided. No signage is currently proposed at this time, and any future signage will have to meet the requirements. And it meets the general standards of yards and open space with a 23-foot front setback, 10-foot side setback, and a very large rear setback, in addition to the 10-foot landscape buffer required. The staff does recommend the approval of the proposed business conditional use permit, and this is the motion that will be in front of you, and I'm happy to go over any of that information in greater detail should you require.
Anyone have any questions for Miles?
So essentially, the applicant, he was here previously, everything that was of concern, he has now repaired that.
The applicant came back with a new application with a site plan and a proposed business plan unit development that meets all the standards of the town that we can impose upon them The non-conforming nature of the existing structure does not, directly impact his ability to put a second structure on it, provided that he met all the standards, and he does to the best of his ability.
The issue was landscaping buffer before, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just refreshing my memory. Anybody else? No? I'm getting my notes out so I know what to do.
Motion's in front of you.
All right, at this time, we're going to ask that the applicant can now present evidence and legal arguments in support of the request. Is the applicant here? Come on up, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Commissioners, my name is George Pinkston. I'm a resident of Pleasure Island. I'm here representing Mr. Ralph Roof. I have an architectural planning business in Wilmington, North Carolina. We, as you've heard, have submitted this a few times, and with this last submittal have met what we understand were all the requests from council and from you and from staff. So I simply want to say that I'm here for any questions. If you have any, I'll do my best to answer anything that you have.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
If we need you, we'll ask you back up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. This time, if you were sworn in and would like to testify, please approach the podium. If you'd like to testify and you haven't been sworn in, please come up and do so. Would anybody like to speak on this project? No. All right. I'm going to make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, discussion. Anybody want to say anything to say?
No, I think he's,
I don't have anything. I remember the landscape buffer being the big deal, so
Yep.
if that's been met, I don't see any problem here.
Me either.
yeah.
All right, somebody make a motion.
Can you put the motion up?
It's up.
Make sure we know what the.
It's on your screen, too.
That's not on mine. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the CUP in ordinance with the draft grant order, and that the proposal meets the 7 specific standards and the 4 general conditions if developed according to the plan and submitted and approved.
Does that suffice? Is a motion, Jeremy? Yes. Any discussion? Second? I second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Next, item is to consider a conditional use permit located at 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard for a business plan unit development, applicant Bryant Real Estate Investments. And before we get started, I believe Vice Chair LeCompte has.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that I do provide laundry services currently for Bryant Real Estate. So I think I need to recuse myself from this because it does impact me financially, because I understand that it's going to be a laundry facility. So I think that it'd be best interest that I recuse myself from this vote.
I think just for educational purposes, we have a couple of new people on here that recusing yourself from a CUP, there's very fine lines that you have to follow. And Deb's hitting it on the head that she has a business the same as this one that we're looking at approving or denying. That I agree that you should be allowed. You can't just recuse yourself because you want to. You know, there has to be an actual lawful reason to do so, just to let you guys know.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, if you'll take it, just vote to recuse.
All right, all in favor of letting Commissioner LeCompte recuse herself? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so do I?
You can sit out in the audience
Yes.
Yay.
for a change. We still have a quorum here, right? Okay.
Yep, 4.
They're dropping like flies.
Barely. Barely.
And Chairman, if we could, just anyone who wants to speak, if we just could go ahead and maybe swear.
Yeah, anybody that wants to speak on this one, if you could come up and get yourself sworn in, that includes the applicant. I'm sorry I didn't do that on the last one, Jeremy. Anybody from the public and the applicant? Anybody at all? I'm not sure that guy knows him. He's already said his piece. He's probably not gonna come on. Sir, if you want to speak again on this, you have to come up and get sworn in. Thank you. Everybody come on up and put your, whatever hand she says on the Bible, I don't know.
Raise your left hand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the statements you shall make are the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you all. At this time, I'm going to open up the evidentiary hearing. Is this you again, Mr. Murphy?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we're here for yet another conditional use permit for 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard for a planned unit development. For frame of reference, this is Lake Park Boulevard here, and this is the property in question here. And Bryant Real Estate is the applicant. So in the Highway Business District, like the Neighborhood Business District, conditional use permits are permitted for business plan unit developments. They have to meet specific standards. In this case, based on the proposed development of office and warehouse space, including the existing office space, they're required to have 23 spaces. They are providing 23 spaces with with 3 handicap spaces, 2 beyond the requirement. In addition to that, just take a little look here at the proposed elevations and give you an idea of what the structure would look like. So it's the warehouse portion on the right side or the south side with the offices on the north side there. This is the current situation of the property, giving you a couple different angles. On the right is where the proposed structure would take place. Those are the properties on Moorfield that will be shown in greater detail. This is the current building that was finished about a year and a half ago, new construction here in the town. And this is the view from across Lake Park. These are a couple of the adjacent properties. We have commercial business at 1300. We have a retail front at 206 or 1206 Lake Park Boulevard North. And then adjacent to that, we have residential properties of 100, 102, 101, and 103 Moorfield. 102 didn't happen to make it into any of my photos, so just for proper labeling, but these are 101 and 103, of which will be backing the new proposed structure. So what you'll have in front of you is that the business PUD for this proposal are permitted in highway business and would meet all the zoning standards. It meets all required conditions. They are not asking for any waivers or modifications. The proposed use will conform with the highway business zoning district and be buffered from adjacent residential uses. It is in line with the current future land use plan of the commercial 1 zoning district. The ingress and egress will be via Risley Road. The parking will be based off their parking requirements for office and warehouse space, and they do meet that. Trash service will not be altered. Stormwater and utilities will be dealt in standard methods. There is a minimum of a 10-foot landscape buffer around the second building. 5 foot has already been provided around the pre-existing structure. And frankly, there probably actually provides more than that with the way they've set up their landscaping and their green space. No additional signage is proposed at this time, and any new signs would have to comply with the current sign ordinance. There's a minimum 15 feet between structures, 10% of open space, and 60% maximum of lot coverage. Their front setback is tremendously large, as technically their front is Lake Park Boulevard North. They are proposing 25 feet from the rear, and 10 feet of that will be a landscape buffer, and they're looking to be 25 feet from either side of the property line.
Excuse me.
And so staff does recommend the approval of the CUP. We'll go back to the site plan here so y'all can take a closer look at that and ask any questions you may have about the proposal.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I do. What is this square footage of the impervious surface?
The incoming proposed structures, I believe, are 4,000 square feet, and the existing structure is
Just the incoming.
just the incoming?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's around 4,000 square feet.
Anyone else? Thank you, Miles. All right, at this time, we're going to open the public hearing. We'll have the applicant come up and present your case. State your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Colin Tarrant. I'm an attorney with Black Crouch, Keeter, Beam, and Syed in Wilmington. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Bryant Real Estate. I would like to point out that I'm here with Mr. Mark Bryant, who's here on behalf of the applicant, as well as Phil Tripp, who's here with Tripp Engineering. As staff has stated, this is our request for a conditional use permit to build a 2-unit business PUD comprised of an existing one office building and a proposed building that will have an office and warehouse space. The parcel's currently zoned in the HB, which does allow the business PUD. As staff has stated, I'm not going to go through all the different standards, but we have met per our application and working closely with staff, both the specific standards that are set out in the Carolina Beach zoning ordinance as well as the general conditions. As I stated, I'm here with Mr. Bryant and Mr. Tripp, who are able to answer any specific questions that any of the board members may have as to the actual construction or proposed project itself. We can also direct any other issues that may be brought up by any members of the audience here today. If there's any specific questions at this time, we'll be happy to answer them.
I don't have any. Do you guys?
Most everybody here that's been here a long time knows what used to be there. I was going to ask you, or you can ask Mr. Bryant if you're aware, and I don't see an issue with anything. Has any environmental testing been done, soil test on that? And the only reason I ask, and let me be clear, I don't suspect that there's any issue, but I know that there were, because of what was there in the past. I was just wondering if you had done any testing.
You go ahead and state your name and address for the record first.
Name is Mark Bryant. I am owner of Bryant Real Estate, operate an office at 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard. We have not done any pollutant type testing. Only environmental testing was just impact studies for soil composition.
Would you be opposed to doing those?
Wouldn't be opposed, but a whole lot has been turned over as far as the stormwater, because we treated for underground stormwater retention for the entire square foot of the lot.
When you built
When we
that
built,
nice
yes.
structure up front?
Mhm. Underneath the parking lot, there is a giant underground water tank.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant? No? Thank you, sir. We'll I'll call you back up if we have any other questions. All right, at this time, if you were sworn in from the public and would like to testify, please approach and state your name and address for the record. Anybody out in the audience? Thank you. Sorry to make you do that again. It's,
Philip Williams, 101 Moorfield. I mean, I guess we saw the 20-foot setback would be from our property on the backside.
25
25
is what they're doing. 20 is required.
Okay. I would just like to put a motion, it would be nice if there was some kind of fence. Hate to impose anything. Everything that built is super nice. I saw the whole thing go up. The big honeycomb, I mean, that went in under the parking lot and whatnot, and from what it looks like, it's gonna be a nice structure, but still, it would be nice maybe if there was some kind of divider.
Is there a fence proposed, Miles?
There is no fence proposed, to my knowledge, or required. They are doing 10 feet of landscaping, which would be, it is 1 canopy or 2 understory trees for every 50 feet of frontage there, plus I believe it's 6 shrubs too. So there is a substantial landscaping requirement going in along that portion, which is approximately 150 feet. So you're looking at 3 to 6 trees plus almost 20 shrubs going in as a buffer to begin with. And a fence is something that the board could consider requesting from the applicant, but it's by no means required by the way our zoning is written.
So our zoning doesn't require the division between a commercial property and a residential property with a fence?
No, it requires that additional buffer. It doesn't
Just the additional
require that
landscape
fence.
buffer, okay.
Is there any driving gonna be behind it, or is it pretty much non-use behind it?
Looks, yes, you can answer. Come on up.
I guess before we go any further, it is our intention to actually build a fence.
Oh, well, that answers that question.
And there is no driving. No, there's no
I don't
driving.
wanna impose, you're a nice guy, nice neighbor, everything looks great. So
Thank you, appreciate it.
with that being said, I mean,
No,
yeah,
we're,
that'd be awesome.
we're gonna end up running a fence and down the other side as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Anybody else in the audience? All right. I'm gonna make a motion. We close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any discussion, guys? We're all just guys. Yes, we are. Don't offend anybody. Used to Deb sitting next to me.
I have seen, from what they've taken this property to what it is now and everything they have done, in my opinion, has been an improvement. They've done it nice, everything from the building, the landscaping, the sign, kind of above, well, many times above what would be required, and it's actually aesthetically pleasing.
What makes this required to have a conditional use permit?
Because it's
A PUD? Gotcha. I mean, I don't have any comments really. They've met every requirement in the process, and staff recommends it, and I don't see any problems. All right.
And I wouldn't put my question into, if I make the motion, I won't put I'll let somebody else do it, but I'm not gonna put the environmental thing. I was curious, I think.
All right.
It might be onerous, I think it may be onerous when it's, there's no specific need. That was just a question.
Anybody have a problem with me making a motion?
No, sir.
I want to make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit located at 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard for a planned business unit development. It's in accordance with the draft grant order, and that the proposal meets the 7 specific standards and the 4 general standards developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We didn't get a second, but all in favor?
John seconded.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming. Let's welcome back our famous vice chair, Ms. Deb LeCompte.
And I would have voted yes too, so just.
You don't have to say it now. We're not going to review the 2020 draft CAMA land use plan. We're going to carry that into non-agenda, I assume, which isn't on my list. Andrea? Got to find
It's on
something
this
every time.
It's on this one.
Thank you.
On mine. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Land use, so I think we've, as a group, decided that we want to have a workshop and spend more time discussing, more time researching, more time taking in information, as Ms. Graves pointed out, the realtors, lenders, different
Business owners.
business owners, legal things that we need to consider, and, you know, this is a 10-year plan. As a board, when things come through here that would require us to change the land use plan to let it happen, I don't think we've ever done that. Maybe once, since I've been on this board since 2013. So making a change to it because there was a mistake made isn't as easy of a process, I think, as some people may think. So I want to make sure we get it right as chair and as planning commissioner.
Yeah.
The only,
And as a taxpayer.
only suggestion I would give you, Mr. Chairman, would be to somehow, several of us here and Mr. Murphy, Mr. Hardison, certainly know, we were on this LUP for a year and 3-4 months, I'm not sure, but at times the meetings seemed to take lives of their own, and conversation, you never finished one thing and then we go to the next. So
Right.
maybe if you
I was at some
or
of
the
those meetings,
vice,
I saw
you
that.
or the vice chair could figure, if that's allowable, run the meeting and direct the meeting, and we can go from topic to topic. I've just seen it for 14 months, and staff would be trying to answer a question, and the next thing you know, somebody's asking a question kind of really unrelated, and so we started running in circles.
Jeremy, how is the format of a workshop for us? How is that allowed? Obviously, the public is allowed to be there. How does workshops for our board typically work in that fashion? Can we just have our workshop and the public can speak at the next meeting when we have a public discussion? Or I don't want to knock anybody out from doing anything, because I was a big advocate of being able to let the public speak during their meetings. I just want to know what our options are.
It's really the pleasure of the board. If you want to open up to public, you certainly can. If you just want to have a workshop and, discussion between the board and roll your sleeves up and really dive into the plan, that's certainly can do that as well. But I think that we do need to have that
How do we determine-
public comment, you know, some, you know.
I don't mind public comment, but we have to do it, we have to, as he just said, I'm not turning it into a 6-hour workshop because we all have lives. And we want to be able to hash through this stuff, but I also want to take in, and how do you find that healthy balance? You want to take in everything everybody has to say, and make sure it doesn't take us another 6 months, because I won't be on the board in 6 months.
So maybe that speaking happens at the actual
At
planning
the
and
public
zoning meeting.
Discussion. We're non-agenda, yeah, so,
But, okay.
can we?
Yeah.
Go ahead and step up again.
Look here.
Do I have to say who I am again?
I don't think this is a,
No.
So, yeah.
So, you're right. They go like, all like this, right? I would, if you have the time, I would schedule like one evening or 1 hour for each topic, or 1 half hour or whatever, and that way if somebody says, oh, this, you say, you know what, that's for this hour, or that's for this date, or that's whatever, you know, let's write, you know, write down your question, hand it in, but nobody ever wants to like be rude and say, table it, next topic, whatever, but my suggestion is to just make a really detailed, this half-hour block for this half-hour block for this section, this section, and clear out all the garbage, and after the public's had a chance to review it, then let them speak, because you're just gonna get gobbledygook. People are upset, like just that lot changing those lot sizes, that'll quiet people down once that little section where the lot sizes match our zoning laws, you know?
I've probably got 30 sections before it quiets me down, but
It's- Right.
I don't
but-
want to spend 30 hours on that either.
Right, but he's right, you know,
Yeah.
it gets crazy, but nobody ever wants to be aggressive, rude, however it's seen as,
I
you
don't
gotta
mind.
table that till here, so if you have a schedule where somebody can see that they'll be noted on that date or in that time, then they need to be respectful and not bring it up. Does that make sense?
If it,
I got another.
a suggestion.
Yes, thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Ms. Graybush.
I think that I also want to ask, is it, and I want to ask the board as well, we have three
Three.
members of the land use planning
That's where I'm-
here. Can we just have our own workshop?
Certainly.
Because we've had a year and 2 months of whatever, of land use plan steering committee, and I've gone to a few of them, and I've read at length, and I've studied, and I've discussed, and I think as a board, and I think if Mike and Melanie were here, they might agree that we just want to have some time that we can, without all of us going to somebody's house, that we can have an official meeting and discuss our concerns and what concerns have been brought to us that we've been sending to you, that we can have a discussion and get a general feel of how we feel about those changes. Some of them, I think, will all be on the same page. Some of them, we might be split up and need further discussion.
Yes, certainly, the plan now process has gone from the committee.
The
is
committee's
now
done
the
its
Planning
job.
and Zoning Commission.
Yes, okay.
So, you know, I think the only requirement is that you will have to, you know, have a public comment.
Yes.
I have a suggestion.
At some point.
So how do we have to decide the date? Because we're missing 2 people, can this be done through an email with all of us as a board to decide the date, and then you guys do your announcement?
Yeah, we could throw out a few dates out there and do like a Google Doc or a survey, and everyone can pick their
I
availability.
know Melanie's out of the country right now, and
I think she gets back tomorrow, though.
And
Good, I need
we'll
some
send that
insurance
email
for it.
out
Okay.
to the,
This would be a suggestion.
yeah,
I'm all for public comment because it's really one of the public's bigger
Absolutely.
things other than safety and
I
infrastructure.
love it when this room is full.
Yeah, but we've had a lot of public input, so a couple of things. The public will have significant time, unlimited time, in terms of numbers. At P and Z, they'll also have opportunity for
Town
public
council.
comment at council. So if we need to, and if it's viable, and if we should, I'd say we can have public comment at the workshop, but I strongly suggest after 14 or 15 months of this, have the public comment after as the last thing, so that they hear everything, because there's oftentimes public comment about
Probably
things
solve
that we're
most
not
of
to
their
yet.
problems.
There's public comment that throws off.
Because you may be able to answer a lot of the questions that they're going to comment on
Yeah, I mean,
by
you've,
making them wait to the very end, because
Is that up to us
we've
as
been to
well?
all these meetings, and the public comment, a lot of times, no offense, has been the same folks saying the same thing
And
3 different times. And
it was
listen,
good
it's,
info.
it's very well respected.
We had 50 people comment about a pedestrian route through Carolina Sands, so I know.
Yeah, so I would strongly suggest that, A, somebody run it, that you or the vice chair, because it is a,
Be
P-
ran
it is
just
a,
like a P&Z
it is a
meeting.
P and Z
Yeah.
meeting. Secondly, we have some kind of order that
Format.
the leader keeps it on track so that we can finish and actually resolve one thing and then the other for whatever concerns, and I guess they're varied. And thirdly, there's gonna be a whole lot of information for public comment. My point is, until we actually conclude that meeting, P and Z is still not deciding. So I
And we're
would
still
keep
going to
it-
have public comment here.
Yeah, and I would keep, if they want to do it at that workshop, I would just suggest that it come at the end.
I like that idea.
Otherwise, we're all over the map, and after 15 months, I mean, staff will tell you, and Jeff and Commissioner.
I think the idea that my 25 or 30 items and Deb's items and Commissioner Etu's items and you guys' items that were on the steering committee, that we can solve most of the public comments that have come out.
Let them hear what we're thinking, because we've been absorbing for all that time.
Is that allowed
And
in
you
our
have-
workshop to control it how we want as far as when that happens for public comment?
Certainly, I mean, you don't necessarily even have to have a public comment.
I know, but
But you probably would,
that's no good.
No, I think once we come up with what we think is the plan.
It won't be-
And to fix what we think is fixing the errors, I mean, I think that it's great to know whether we fixed them or not.
Right.
And I don't think we know if we don't have the public comment.
Yeah. And it won't be.
So I think it's great to have public comment.
And again, that won't be we being the P and Z. That's going to be us meeting with, I guess somewhat formally, LUP. It won't be a P and Z meeting. We still got to come to P and Z, so.
We're not meeting with
We're not
LUP.
meeting with LUP.
It's just a P&Z
just a P&Z
workshop.
Oh, I thought that, okay,
Just a
okay.
P&Z workshop.
We have 3 of you on the board,
That's what I'm thinking. There's plenty of liaisons.
and Miles and Jeremy and Andrea, of course.
If we could do that and you could run it, or vice chair could run it. it'd be-
All right, can we just say this and all agree that we start whatever version of whatever you want to do to get us all involved in a conversation about dates?
and the purpose of the meeting
And the
is.
purpose of the
is
meeting.
to give staff clear direction on any modifications to the plan.
Give
to
us
bring
more
back
time to have open discussions
At a
too.
regular scheduled planning and
Yes,
zoning
That's
commission
correct.
meeting.
yes.
Where there will be public.
Just a workshop for the land use plan. What we have in front of us is, it's just a lot. Are we doing what? No, I just want her
She's welcome to-
information.
She's welcome
She's
to
welcome
come
to come.
at any point.
Definitely at the
I speak
planning and
with her
zoning or
regularly.
council meetings, though.
I speak with her regularly. Mhm.
Not to iterate, but they were talking about somebody was possibly thinking about pulling like the attorney to the state and stuff, and I was like,
I think they've already been having
I
those
think they already
discussions.
have.
The National Realtor Association.
Yeah, NAR has already, Cape Fear Realtors has already sent a letter via, but there's a lot of anxiety about a lot of things that are either ultimately or either misunderstood or might not happen. So I would try to quell any anxiety until they actually see the final plan. I mean, I thought the Redskins had a chance this year. You know what I'm saying? And
All right.
it was
Is
all
that-
for nothing.
Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll send an email out for some possible dates and
Some possible dates, and it'd be nice to have this done. How long of an announcement do you have to have? Is it 2 weeks?
yeah, I'd like to have 2 weeks just,
So if we can decide over the
advertise
next
for a meeting.
5 days or so, for the meeting date.
And I guess, far enough out, depending on, I guess somebody can get some information.
It'd be nice to have it so we can bring it back in March and actually finally get.
Yeah, I guess would want an evening meeting, same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, because like Melanie, she couldn't make a day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice,
6:30.
a lot of these people work.
And then we have to make sure we're not conflicting with the other meetings that you guys are involved in as well. All right, one last non-agenda item for me. I'm formally made a decision. I'm not asking to be reappointed to this committee. I've been on it since 2013. I've loved every minute of it, and I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed working with all the different commissioners that we've had since then. I think we have a great group of people on this board.
Me too.
And I feel I've done my time helping and serving on the board, and I've got a lot going on in my personal life that I'd like to pay more attention to. So come June, somebody else can get appointed. somebody else can get elected as chair. And I look forward to watching you guys work from afar.
Yeah, that's when public comment comes in.
When Greg stepped down, he didn't come to any meetings anymore, unless he had to.
Greg was here, what, 10 or 12 years or something?
8 or 9, I think, and he was chair for a lot of that. I learned a lot off of Greg, and I still go in and utilize him for information. He's a great wealth of information as far as the zoning stuff, so. But, anybody else have any non-agenda before we adjourn as fast as, I just can't believe we're done at, what is it, an hour? Yes. Wow. Good job. All right.